Welcome everyone to the George James & Associates Research Tools channel. My name is Stephen Lee, and today I want to focus on a blog post that I wrote earlier this year, and it's about the low or no cost resources for aspiring academics. And by that I mean typically graduate students, but it can also be new faculty members, junior faculty members, and undergraduates as well. So let's dive right in. There are 10 low or no cost resources that I identified in my blog post. And you can find this blog post at georgejamesassociates.com in my blog. And I suppose now every single one of these will have to reset, which is really annoying. Every time Firefox or any browser does that, it shuts off or has to exit. Okay, so let's start with Microsoft Office. This is the backbone of conducting your research, as well as any assignment that you're going to have in college and in graduate school. So it is very important that if your school does not furnish you with a Microsoft Office 365 account, that you take your school email address and you go secure your free copy, at least to lease. I don't think you can actually own Office anymore. You just lease it. But anyway, students can do so going to this website, and you can just Google search Office 365, or you can go to this link. I will provide a list of these links in the video's description below. And this is where you go to have access to Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and others. These are the three that you're going to use predominantly throughout your academic career. So Word obviously is the word processor. Excel is not only good for keeping spreadsheets, but also performing calculations. I use Excel a lot, and also for cleaning data. And then PowerPoint is how you deliver. This is what you're going to use when you present your research at conferences or at job talks. So all three of these are absolutely critical, and it is very necessary for you to get your free copy of these as a student. Next thing is Dropbox. I have found in my own experiences that researching in groups is extremely helpful. One of the drawbacks to that is communication. So you're not just communicating with yourself, you are communicating with other members of the research group. And either the group members will, in my experience, tend to gravitate towards Dropbox or Google Drive. Those are sort of the two options. Dropbox is nice in that you can, there's a vault function now where you can take sensitive information and put it in the vault, but you have to access the online version of Dropbox to do that. The other thing you can do is you can share folders, you can share specific contents inside of folders, and it's just very nice. Most of you probably have Dropbox anyways. The basic account is free, but you're going to want to upgrade that if you decide, if you're going to be the member of the group to keep all the data in your account. Fortunately, a lot of researchers who are already established will have premium or plus, whatever they call the non-basic, the professional or premium or whatever it is. They will already have those accounts, and so they will be storing them. But you still need to download Dropbox to easily play nicely, for your machine to play nicely with their machine in conveying and being able to access the information and the content that you're working on collaboratively. So Dropbox is very helpful. Google Drive is also helpful. The advantage that Google Drive has, although Dropbox is catching up in this respect, but again, you have to access the online version of Dropbox to do this, is to concurrently work on and edit files. So let's say that you're in Lexington, Kentucky, and one of your research collaborators in the group is in, I don't know, Washington, D.C. or somewhere that's not Kentucky. You have to, in order for both of you to work on the document and for it to save simultaneously your changes and your research partner's changes, then you either have to use Dropbox online version, which means you can't be doing it on your computer or else it'll save. What'll happen is if you try to do it on your computer and they do it on their machine, then Dropbox will basically notice that there are two different versions, and it'll save both of them, and it'll just slap your name on that version. The other way to do it is to do it in Google Drive. In Google Drive, I believe you can do that online or offline. Okay, moving on to SAS Enterprise Guide. So SAS Enterprise Guide is sort of the non-coders version of the full SAS, and it works just as well. The downside to not being able to code, however, is that if you make a mistake later on in your step-by-step research, then you have to delete a bunch of stuff and go backwards. Whereas if you code, then you can just immediately go to the lines of the code in the full SAS version and make the changes that you need to. Same thing with R, same thing with Stata, same thing with SPSS. But, and sort of as a side note, if you haven't yet reached the research methods, statistics, econometrics courses in your program, you're going to be at the mercy of your professor, and of the program. So these programs tend to gravitate towards one, either SAS Enterprise Guide, SPSS, Stata, or R, and they tend to gravitate towards one of those programs. And so you don't really have a choice unless you're going to go teach yourself or hire a tutor for one of those other programs. And so as a result, you are largely at the mercy of whatever the program or the professor in question uses. Okay, this Pexels, you can also use Unsplash, which is a competitor, I guess, to Pexels, is you can go here and you can type in, let's say you wanted to do like footprint, it can be anything, right? It can be money. And so these are royalty-free photos that you can use in blog posts and what have you. And this is what I use. And you don't have to worry about breaking copyright law or anything of that nature. So you can instead type in money, a bunch of different pictures that you can use. PDF joiner. So almost always when you're making a submission to a journal or you are you're going to develop a finished product, you're going to want to you're going to wind up having a bunch of different PDFs that you have sort of converted from Word files. And so the problem is that even in preparation for applying to jobs, I had to do this just the other day when I applied to a new tenure track job. What I had to do is they wanted, in one file, they wanted 3 different representative publications or things that I was working on. And so what I had to do is I had to take those distinct PDFs and I had to join them. And so you can either do pdfjoiner.com or go into Google and search for PDFs. And it's pretty straightforward. You just have to watch out for all the ads and stupid buttons like that. But you will go into upload files, upload them, they'll show up here, and then you will click join files and then download the joined file. Researcher is very, very useful app because it helps you stay on top of what's going on in your fields or your subfields. So mine, for instance, is fraud. And so the better, even though you can online and do some functionality, some functions online here with Windows, it's better actually to either go to the App Store or Google Play, depending on which one you have, an iPhone or an Android. And it's pretty neat because it will allow you to set up feeds, and you set up those feeds by implementing keywords. And whenever you have selected a number of keywords, anytime an article is published, essentially in any sort of serious peer-reviewed journal, you will receive a notification if it meets those keywords. It's very, very cool, very important to stay on top of the latest research in your area. Experiment.com, this is what I'm currently using actually in preparation. It's supposed to launch next Monday, and I am using this to let me go to my projects actually, to fund the second essay of my dissertation research. And it's on whether people know that they've actually been defrauded. And so with all the fees and expenses and everything, it's going to come out to about $2,800. And so this is an all or nothing platform, which means you have to raise the entire amount. And if you don't crowdfund the entire amount within you can set the deadline, but it's a maximum of 45 days. If you don't successfully raise all the funds, all the money, then it's not funded and you have to start over. So there are a number of hoops that you have to jump through. They just want to make sure that the folks at experiment.com want to make sure that you are legitimate, that you have IRB approval, which you have to get before you go to experiment.com. They're going to require that you furnish them the IRB approved approval of your project, so you need to do that first. So there are a lot of hoops you have to jump through, and I can do a separate video on that. Octave. Octave is the free version of MATLAB, and so what Octave does is it allows you to code. It's a separate type of coding, so you're not running regressions or other statistical analysis, although I suppose you could. But instead, if you want to run, let's say what I use it for is Monte Carlo analysis, so you're trying to model uncertainty by importing data, historical data. In my case, it is stocks and bonds returns over the last nearly 100 years. Goes back to 1926. So I import those into Octave, and then I write or modify code that is then used to predict percentages of success. In my case, it is portfolios, retirement portfolio success rates after introducing fraud shocks. So that's what the third essay of my dissertation does, and I use Octave to do that. And you can just Google search Octave, or again, I'll provide this link below. But again, it does have most of the functionality. It's very slightly different. I would say 99% similar. It is 99% similar to MATLAB, but not quite 100%. But it's the free version, and this is the greatest savings that you're going to have probably of all these different softwares, because MATLAB is extremely expensive. Grammarly is really neat because it will link up with your browser, it'll link up with your word processor. So it has links for Chrome, Firefox, Microsoft Word. And so what will happen is whenever you make a spelling or grammatical error, it will notify you. So it's very important for those of you who are not deeply ingrained in elementary school with diagramming sentences and things of that nature. Grammarly is probably more and more important for you than it is for someone like me who had to diagram sentences in private school and grammar school and what have you coming up. But Grammarly is very good. And the basic version will give you basic errors that you need to fix that are glaring errors. If you want to upgrade, you can do so, and then it'll make more sophisticated suggestions. And lastly, which I guess I got signed out, is SSRN, which is Social Science Research Network. Now, this will not apply necessarily to all of you because some of you are hard scientists. You're in the hard sciences or you're in the humanities. But if you're in social sciences, then this is very useful because it will keep track of all the papers. It's the motto of it is today's research tomorrow is the motto of SSRN. But it's pretty nifty because you can look at the analytics for how many times your papers have been downloaded. It's a good repository for all your papers. You can have working papers, and even some conferences will coordinate your online blind review submissions through SSRN. So it's very, very useful, just like so many other low to no cost resources. And so it is free for you. Just go to ssrn.com. And SSRN is largely used by Google Scholar to source papers that you're looking for in your own research for lit reviews and theoretical frameworks and what have you. So that's it. Those are the 10. I just wanted to walk through all of them, and I can do a separate video on each one of them and dive into the nuts and bolts of how they work, how you set them up. But for now, I just wanted to do a video, the very first video of my channel for the research tools. Please like the video, provide any commentary down below, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much. See you next time.